Oh, hello. In today's video, we're going to talk about the Q4 Balance Dataslate. That's right, Christmas jumpers on, it must be Q4, and therefore we've got a new Balance Dataslate. Off we go. So, let's give you the quick overview. Commandos and Chaos Cults have been nerfed, and then they decided to come along and buff every team that had 0 picks at the World Championships. So, they've buffed quite a lot of teams, as we'll see when we go through, and not teams that people who are just analysing the pure kind of win-loss data might necessarily have expected, but they've gone through and they said, we buff every team that had 0 picks at the World Championships. Although they haven't provided any updates for Strikeforce Justian, I'm maining Strikeforce Justian at the moment, so this hurts a little. I'm beginning to think that GW don't really view Strikeforce Justian as a proper kill team, because it was kind of a Space Marine Heroes thing. Like, they badly need some FAQs, and I'm not really calling for buffs as such, but they badly need some FAQs and some sorting out to make sure that they are certainly playable. We also randomly learned at the end of the MetaWatch video that the upcoming Howling Banshees can, to quote Elliot, do a backflip with fly across gantries instead of having to roll the jump test. So, are they going to have fly? Are they going to just auto-pass jump tests? We shall see. Right, on with the minutiae of the Balance Dataslate changes. So we're going to start with Commandos. So they've made 2 changes to Commandos. Sneaky Git Tactical Ploy. You can only use it once per battle, and that operative cannot have its order changed in the first turning point, i.e. from the Infiltrate Scouting option. So, Sneaky Git can only be used once per battle, down from 3 times per battle, and you can't order flip the model that you gave Infiltrate to. That second part seems bigger, so you can't keep somebody safe in the middle and then alpha strike with them at the moment of your choosing, which means that you can't sort of infiltrate somebody into the middle, keep them on conceal, hold the infiltrated hand, and really lock down your opponent's ability to move out of their deployment zone, which is quite big, quite common with a Rocket Boy, right? A lot of people have sort of said, why is Sneaky Git being nerfed now? It's been in the game since day 1, that's true, although it did, because you can spend command points in an unlimited way at the start of the battle, and because with the Crit Ops pack we increased the number of command points we were starting with, it did become more of a nuisance after Crit Ops was released. So, and they've nerfed it now, so it's because it used to be you could do it twice, then you could do it 3 times, now you can only do it once, right? So that's the Sneaky Git Tactical Ploy. They've also decided to change the Bomb Squig so its APL can't be positively modified. Makes narrative sense if nothing else. Not quite sure what the hijinks is there with the Bomb Squig having an extra APL, but yeah. I think these changes are going to stop Commandos being, hopefully, as slightly obnoxious as they are at the very top tier. I don't think they really stop Commandos feeling like Commandos. So, to me, they seem like they're good changes. But again, it's not a team that I've ever played. So, your mileage may vary. Let me know in the comments if you have strong feelings either way about Commandos. Chaos Cults. So, Chaos Cults have been nerfed again. Quite badly, I think. So, friendly devotee operatives, those are the little guys, can mutate at the end of a combat in which they incapacitated an enemy operative and were not incapacitated themselves. So previously they just had to inflict some damage. I think it's now pretty rare that a devotee mutates without the... Of course, there's ways to mutate them with your other figures, but it's going to be very rare that a devotee mutates themselves because they're not particularly powerful in combat. And then we've also got mutations, so when you mutate into a new operative, you no longer have full wounds. Instead, you have the same wounds you had and regain some. So D3+1 if it turns into a mutant, or D3+3 if it turns into a torment. Fine, I understand as well. The Chaos Cults are in an interesting place because I feel like they have a very high skill ceiling and a very high skill floor. And I feel like the nerfs have had the effect of lowering that skill ceiling, but also raising that skill floor. So I feel like they did need the nerf. They weren't dominating at the top tables. They did really dominate at the World Championships. But I think they may now be one of the most inaccessible teams in Kill Team. As a new player, I think they're probably one of the hardest teams to actually just pick up and play. Let me know what you think. But yeah, I think it's hard because they needed it for the competitive meta. But I know at least two different people are like, well, I wasn't really dominating with these before, and now they've been nerfed even further. I'll just find a different team. Like, they were already pretty hard to use well. So, I don't know what Games Workshop does with that, but I think it's worth bearing in mind, right? I don't know. Let me know in the comments again if you have any thoughts on that particular conundrum. Right, so there's the nerfs out the way. We're going to get into the buffs. 2 buffs for Pathfinders. The Mark MB3 recon drone no longer requires you to have 1 less operative. So if you're habitually taking the recon drone, you've gained an extra body, which is massive. If you were leaving the recon drone at home in order to take an extra body, well, you can now take your recon drone, which is cool, and it's now probably an auto take. It's a really cool looking figure, it's a really powerful figure. It's nice to be able to play with all your toys and not feel like you're gimping yourself by robbing yourself of an extra body, even though we all know, more operatives, more activations is a positive thing. I think that's a nice benefit. And also the drone controller Pathfinder operative, so if he's on the board, he gains the ability Focused EMP Override. If he's in the kill zone, friendly drones can perform the Operate Hatch action. So this is yet another focused update for Pathfinders when they're on Into the Dark, right? So if you're playing on Into the Dark as Pathfinders, you can open the doors. No issues with that. I think they need the help on Into the Dark. Does the recon drone thing, though, make them a little overtuned on open table, especially as we're about to go into, Season 3, which looks like it's going to be quite good for shooting teams, especially Pathfinders, who can use marker lights to get rid of obscuring. Odd time to buff them. But one of their 2 buffs is focused on Into the Dark, so that's splendid. That's splendid. It's just the recon drone thing, we'll have to see how that one unfolds in the future, right? Corsairs. Interesting. The team that everybody says is perfectly balanced. Nobody takes them. The Outcast strategic ploy. I should say nobody takes the worlds. The popular outside of elite play, right? The Outcast strategic ploy. Charge distance requirements to blue instead of red. So let's look at Outcasts. Outcasts was a strategic ploy until the end of the turning point each time a friendly Corsair Void Squad operative fights in combat or makes a shooting attack. In the roll attack dice step of that combat or shooting attack, if it's more than red from friendly operatives, you can retain any critical hits and you can select one of your failed hits to be retained as a successful normal hit. Basically, this Outcasts strat ploy was never getting used because I don't think it would ever really come up unless you were really down to turn 3, turn 4 where you had only a couple of models left. Now, with the range requirement reduced, might come up. It might actually be able to pull it off more often and be able to use it, and that's nice because it sucks to have a ploy printed on the page that you're never able to actually use. So that's good. Let's look at Deadly Ambush. So, Deadly Ambush, they've changed it so that when you do a Deadly Ambush, if you're on a conceal, you can flip to engage. So let's remind ourselves what Deadly Ambush is. 1 CP, use the tactical ploy after an enemy operative finishes an action in which it moved. Select one friendly Corsair Void Squad operative that's not within engagement range of an enemy operative. That friendly operative can immediately perform a free charge action, but can only move up to blue and must finish that move within engagement range of the enemy operative. Otherwise, it can't move. So, that's also a good one. I mean, Deadly Ambush is powerful and was getting used, but now if you've got someone set on the wrong order and someone comes really close to him, you can still punish that. They're not safe just because you're on conceal. I think that is a buff. It is a buff. I think it's a good buff. It's a flavourful buff. It makes one of your signature abilities more likely to happen during the game. I think these are good buffs for the Corsairs. I don't think it's that strong. I don't think it's gonna blow up and make them an absurdly powerful, meta-dominating team. But I do think it'll make them a bit more fun to play with, which is a good thing. That's got to be the aim of these kinds of buffs, right? So hopefully someone will be inspired to pick up the Corsairs and to give them a go. The Hunter Clade. So, 2 buffs here for Hunter Clade. Change the Protector Imperative optimization to each time a friendly Hunter Clade operative makes a shooting attack. In the roll attack dice step of that shooting attack, you can reroll one of your attack dice. Now, previously, I've reproduced it down the bottom here. It used to be, if you rolled 2 or more failed hits, you can reroll one of your attack dice. So, they've changed it so that if you're in the Protector Imperative, it just works. It just gives you something. And I think that's a really, really positive quality of life change. They've made it something you would actually want to use because you feel like you're actually going to get a benefit from it. Big fan of that change. And similarly, we'll look at the next 2, which relate to the Bulwark Imperative. So, change the Bulwark Imperative optimization to each time a shooting attack is made against a friendly Hunter Clade operative. In the roll defense dice step of that shooting attack, you can re-roll one of your defense dice, and we'll also change it to friendly. In the negatives, friendly operatives cannot perform dash actions. So previously, again, you had to have 2 or more failed saves to get the re-roll. Now you just get a re-roll, lovely, and they've made the negative effect less bad. Right? You can't dash rather than subtract 1 from your movement, so you still get to move. And shoot or whatever it is you want to do, which is good. I think they're really nice upgrades, real quality of life upgrades. Hunter Clade are a team that for a while they were considered really powerful, and then they just sort of fell off the edge of the earth. So that's really positive. Really like that. I think they're really fun changes. Wormblade, wow. Wormblade got a lot. Wormblade are looking a bit overtuned. Okay? Not sure what I think about this one, lads. Change the second paragraph of the Cult Ambush ability, and then they've underlined the stuff they've added, right? So, we know what Cult Ambush does, okay? The first time you do a fight or shoot in your activation, if you were changed from Conceal to Engage, during that activation, in the roll attack dice step or the combat shooting attack, you can reroll any or all of your attack dice as results of one result. And they've added in this line of, or it wasn't visible to every enemy operative at the start of that activation. It wasn't visible to every enemy operative at the start of that activation. How often on a kill team board is your operative visible to every other enemy operative? You have to be able to draw a visibility line to your Wormblade from every single enemy operative. On Into the Dark, it's obviously just not going to happen. Maybe they only playtested this on, Season 3, and there's a lot more visibility in Season 3 because it's very open and it uses obscuring to counteract that, but there's loads of visibility, like everyone's visible to everybody else a lot of the time. But outside of that, this just seems like, we just always get Cult Ambush all the time, forever, off we go. Speaking of getting things all the time, forever, I'm going to skip down for a minute. Heavy Gunner. They all have suspensor systems. They can all move 3 circle and shoot heavy weapons. GG. Seems really good, lads. Seems really good. And then we'll look at the Talon Operative. So the Talon Operative was one of the, basically, of the sort of 4 specialist fellas that the Wormblade could take. The Talon with the cloaked guy with the knife that you almost never saw. And now he adds, so its familiar soul sight action adds, until the end of the turning point, each time this operative fights in combat with that enemy operative, in the roll successful hit step of the combat, the first time you resolve one of your successful crits, you can immediately resolve one of your successful normal hits, or a successful crit if you have one. Now, the Talon has a knife with 4 attacks, 3/6 lethal 4+ hitting and the soul sight ability already gave you balanced. So you're rolling 4 dice. If you get 2 4+, right, bear in mind you can reroll ones. If you get 2 4+, and bear in mind you're probably going to have Cult Ambush as well, right? Because you won't be visible to every single enemy model. It's not going to be that challenging to get 2 crits, at which point you can just do 12 wounds in the first round of combat, which is going to kill not everything in the game, but it's going to kill a lot of things in the game before they can do anything about it. And so depending on the matchup, and depending on, obviously it's less good, I guess, against Intercession. But depending on the matchup, That's ridiculous. Isn't it? I mean, yes, sorry, yawning. Yes, it has to be balanced against the other cult agents that you would miss out on if you were taking this guy, but my word, that seems a bit ridiculous. Doesn't it? Doesn't it? Wow. Farstalker Kimband. So a little buff for the Farstalker Kimband. Killbroker. The Call the Kill ability. You select an enemy operative, you no longer need visibility, and each time you attack it, you can either, as originally it did, auto-retain a normal hit, or you gain Ceaseless or P1. Is it just me, or do these new Balance Dataslate, the new ones, seem written in a much more informal, internal kind of a way, rather than them rewriting out a lot of the text? Just. I'm not saying it's bad, just that it's a lot more of a human way of communicating rather than a kind of fact-based, legalistic blah, 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 kind of a one. You know, there's a lot of examples and parentheses. I like it, okay, but it does seem a different tone. Anyway, so the Call the Kill ability, what it used to do, you needed to nominate someone that you could see, and whenever any of your other CRout fought in combat or made a shooting attack against them, they could retain a successful normal hit without rolling it. Right? Now you can do it without visibility, and you can choose instead Ceaseless or P1. It seems like it's a big buff to a small ability. I don't think this ability is what the CRout team mainly plays around or hinges on. But it is a big buff to that ability. I guess maybe they were feeling like the leader, the Killbroker, was a little bit lackluster. He didn't bring as much to the team, and maybe this makes him feel a bit more relevant and important. I'm not sure. But I'm not a big CRout expert. If you are, let me know in the comments whether you think this is going to be a game changer for the CRout. Seems a little minor. It's cool, but it seems a little minor to me. Let's just think about that. Yeah, let me know in the comments if you think this is a big change. I think it's nice to have, but yeah, just words, just insignificant, I think, is what I'm going to go for. Yeah. Kazakin, a team close to my heart, was maining them very recently. So, a big change to elites. So, this one takes a little bit of digestion. Elite ability. After adjusting your first dice, if you discard one of your attack dice, you can spend elite points to adjust an additional dice, but only if one of your remaining failed hits to a normal hit. So this is interesting. So if you roll, it's a shoot, right? To make this really useful, you have to get 3 failures, right? Because if you have 3 fails, you can discard one and spend elite points to modify both of those other failures into hits, right? If you have only 2 failures, you could still use the new rule, because you could use your elite points initially to change a normal into a crit, and then you could discard one of your failures and modify the remaining failure into a hit. But essentially you need to have at least 2 failures for it to be useful. So it's kind of an anti-whiff mechanic for the Kazakin. Makes them even more just crushingly reliable at doing what they want to do. I think it might be a really big upgrade. But of course, it is going to eat through, you're not getting it for free. You are having to eat up those elite points to do it, right? So, swings and roundabouts there. Yeah. They've also changed the Auspex guy. So the Auspex guy was pretty useless. You took him in your team to get the second scouting option, and then you had this really quite poor Auspex. Now they've made it a really good Auspex. So you spend your APL, and until the end of the turning point, each time a friendly Kazakin operative makes a shooting attack, that enemy operative is not obscured. Brilliant. turn off obscurity for an enemy. Especially good as we head into the Dark, where obscurity is going to be the big thing, the main way that they control the board, or control the placement of models on the board. So that looks powerful. I think that's really going to come up. As far as foregrip goes, so now you can give foregrip to gunners and sharpshooters, but you have to spend 2 EP. Foregrip allows you to perform, when you perform an overwatch, you don't worsen the ballistic skill. I guess what this is for is it's for Into the Dark, where you're going on guard, right? And that is an overwatch attack, and it means that when you go on guard, you're not -1 BS, because you can plan to do that. I don't think in open play it's going to go up that much because you're a 10-man team. So you're not assuming you're going to get a lot of Overwatch, right? Because most teams are about 10 men, right? There are a few that are more, but it's not like with Space Marines, stuff that helps you Overwatch is really useful because you know you're going to be getting Overwatches straight away from turn 1. With Kazakin, are you going to spend 2 EP for stuff to do with Overwatch when you've got other things to spend your EP on? That's quite good. Probably not, but it could be good on Into the Dark, where, yeah, because guard triggers an Overwatch, you can go on guard and use it that way. Maybe that's what it's for. Felgo. So they really kind of rode back with the Felgo. These are rowing back from the last set of Balance Dataslates. So in the last Balance Dataslate, they decided that a Frenzied Felgo couldn't contest objectives. Now they've decided that a Frenzied Felgo, which is one you've killed, remember, and it's just still living its kind of unlife as a half-dead Felgo, can now contest an objective, but it only counts as 1 APL. So basically, if it's the only thing on the objective, it can still grab it for you if you've shot it off, which is good, I think. It's probably a good change. And then when it comes to incapacitating Felgo Ravager at range, they've just added the word subsequent. So critical damage inflicted on it in a subsequent shooting attack, e.g. not the same shooting attack in which it gained the frenzy token. I thought this was already the way this worked, and there was a lot of arguing about it online backwards and forwards. They've kind of made an FAQ change to the previous Balance Dataslate. I don't think many people were playing this, that the critical damage from the initial wounding shot was killing the Felgo would never become frenzy. I don't think that was the point, but I think yes, I think this has now clarified it to where most people already understood it existed, but let me know if you were playing it already very differently in your area, and so this will be a big change for you if you were playing it differently in your part of the world. Final thoughts. So does anything about this dataslate jump out at you? Maybe I've glossed over something, and you want to shout about it in the comments because it's a big deal for you, your meta, the way you play. Does it inspire you to pick up any of the teams? You know, that they want people to pick up some of these teams that they've buffed. I might blow off the dust on my Kazakin. I'm going to keep going with Justy until after the Wild World in January. And then between the end of that event and however long it takes me to paint up my next team, I might go back to Kazakin and see how they play with these buffs. Talking of tournaments, I did go to Not's Kill Team yesterday. The event, and the next video I do possibly on Tuesday in lieu of a live stream. Things are getting very hectic now with one thing and another. Possibly on Tuesday in lieu of a live stream, we're going to get a video up about that, the review of that. Listen, it was an outstanding event. It's a great event that they put on there. I wholeheartedly recommend that you go if you can next time. Also, after my devastating loss last time, I finished in the top 3rd, which is really nice for me to be able to talk about. So full video on that and all my thoughts and feelings about that is coming. I know a lot of people who were there who were kind enough to come to me and say, "Oh, I watch your channel." We'll be looking out for that video because they want to know what I have to say about the event that we all went to. So that is going to come next, possibly Tuesday. Right, guys, hope you've enjoyed the video. As I said a couple of times through there, loads of feedback into the comments. If you would, let me know what's going on, and I will see you again next time. No live stream on Tuesday. I may get an extra video out on Tuesday instead. We'll see. Alright, bye-bye. Bye-bye-bye. And, aren't we all looking forward to Christmas? It's very soon. Very soon. See ya. Bye-bye. Bye-bye.